Okay, now I'm going to talk a little bit about validity. Validity asks the question, are we measuring what we say we're measuring? Now remember that reliability asks the question, are we measuring things consistently? And let's take for a moment the example of the scale that was 2 pounds off. That scale will be reliable. In other words, it's always going to tell us the person's weight minus 2 pounds. But it will not be valid because it will always tell us the wrong weight. And so I hope people understand from that example that a test can be reliable but not be valid. You could just be reliably incorrect every time in the same way, and that's not good. So we have to be aware of and sensitive to not just the reliability but also the validity of any measure. Now there are several different kinds of validity. I'm just going to touch on these, but the easiest one to talk about, I think, is content validity, which just asks, are the questions that we're asking on this scale or this test reflective of the domain that we're saying we're investigating? For example, if we gave a comp exam and we said it was a statistics comp exam, but the content of that exam had a lot of questions, let's say, on test construction, then it would be very questionable as to whether we had good content validity. And if people did poorly on the test, it wouldn't necessarily reflect that they were bad at assessment, at statistics. It might reflect that they're bad at test construction. Because, for example, let's say they hadn't learned that yet. So content validity is important for obvious reasons. In the forensic world, face validity is another question altogether. Basically, face validity asks the question, do the questions on the scale seem to an observer to be validly related to the concept being investigated? And, well, what's bad about that is, let's say that a pedophile is reading test questions, and they're questions like, do you feel stimulated by pictures of young boys in their underwear? Well, that has very high face validity. And if they want to appear like they're not pedophiles, they would say no to that. And so the problem with face validity is that there's a potential for people who are not interested in telling the examiner or the researcher their real story. There's an easy potential for them to avoid doing that. Concurrent validity is the ability of a test to correlate with some related measurement that's occurring at the same time. An example of that might be if you were to take the comp exam for your assessment, I'm sorry, for statistics, at the same time that you were also taking your final exam for your statistics class, we would hope that there would be a good correlation between those, and that would be good concurrent validity, because they're happening at the same time. Predictive validity is similar, it's just that you're trying to predict something that will happen in the future. For example, let's say that you got an A on your statistics final. We would hope that that would then predict a high score on the statistics comp exam. And so, okay, those are some examples of ways to measure validity. In fact, there are a number of other ways to describe validity and to look into it. But I hope that this gets you thinking about the importance of the validity of your measurement as well as the reliability.